Day after day, week after week, month after month, I'd be driving down the road and I'd say to myself, how is Wendy's still not hired enough people? How is Pizza Hut still not hired enough people? How has everybody not hired enough people? And then I go home, sit on the couch, open up the news, day after day, month after month, week after week, labor shortage, we can't hire anybody. And I'm thinking to myself, why aren't you going back to work? Like, I don't understand. Don't you have to have an income to make money and feed yourself and your family? I've been so fascinated with the idea of this labor shortage, I decided to finally deep dive and make a video about it. Make me a deal if you get any value or information out of today's video, hit that like button, comment down below any reasons you think people are not going back to work. I also have a finance website, letsmakewifimoney.com. Check that out if you'd like to learn how to increase and diversify your income online. I greatly appreciate it. And let's just get straight into it because this is very fascinating. How are these employers not attracting employees? Like, people need money. 2 years ago, it was like all of my friends were having a hard time finding work. Now work is having a hard time finding workers. It's crazy. And one thing I found out is that nobody really knows, but I have gathered statements from top economists as to their best guesses why. Now, listen to this. French-American economist Esther Duflo, sorry, I butchered that, I know I did, but said that there were roughly half a dozen studies conducted regarding how the $600 weekly benefits for unemployment actually affected the lack of people going back to work. I personally thought that was the sole reason people aren't going back to work. The $600 weekly benefits are great. It's a lot more than minimum wage. But then recently, at least in my state, it dropped down in half to $300. Now that's still more than some people make, but it's starting to get weird. At that point, I was like, there's no way people are actually living off of $300 a week, the ones who have families, and there's so many shortages, I just didn't get it. So a lot of you probably thought that the weekly unemployment benefits is the sole reason why. But in fact, it's not. Those 6 studies were done on a $600 a week basis. They haven't even calculated $300 a week. So $600 a week, apparently that didn't affect anybody's decision to go back to work. I thought that was personally shocking. Like, oh, $600 a week, that's why they're not going back to work. It's because they're getting paid to do nothing. Apparently that is not why, and I've heard that from a multiple very influential economists. I was like, well, that's why. Nope, it's not. Just proves how much I know. And the chief economist at Indeed also came out and said that after these states announced that they're dropping their unemployment benefits or getting rid of them altogether, only a 5% job search increase after those states said that, and then it went back to normal after a week. So clearly the whole unemployment benefits is not affecting anybody. I thought that was what, it's not. This is why this stuff's so fascinating, folks. Hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop. So as much of a surprise that came to me, I was wondering, well, what is the reason? Here are some theories. Like I said, no one really knows for sure. And in fact, I hear a lot more words like probably, might be, possibly, and not words like definitely. So that's very interesting. And not to mention, with the labor shortage, it's forcing employers to step up. They're getting desperate. They're increasing wages, sometimes all the way from the federal minimum wage of $7.45 all the way up to $15 an hour. Workers still aren't coming back. You'd think it'd be a win-win. The employers would get their employees back and the employees would make like double what they were making before. I guess it's just not that easy, folks. Now, number one, I thought this was really interesting. It's the furlough. A lot of people thought that they were under furlough, which if you don't know what that means, basically it's a grant of absence. So essentially, let's say the pandemic hit and you were working at a car dealership. Well, nobody was buying cars because they were all hoarding money because the economy was crashing, and they laid you off on a furlough. So you gained unemployment benefits for a limited amount of time, and in your brain it is temporary because that is what that means, and you're expecting a call from your employer to come back when things are normal. But that doesn't really make any sense these days, because if employers wanted former employees back, they would have called them by now. So that one doesn't personally make sense to me. And another big thing that does make sense to me, because I've been seeing protests all over my city at every hospital we have, a lot of people are absolutely revolting against the vaccine mandate trends. Cox and Mercy here in my local town completely said, you gotta have the vaccine, no other options. And of course, with employers that have over 100 employees, say weekly COVID tests or mandated vaccines. And it's trending a lot, even through smaller businesses, because private business owners have the legal right to determine whether you're vaccinated or not. They can simply fire you if you are not vaccinated. So a lot of employers are switching to that trend. And in fact, I know a lot of people who have left left very successful positions in hospitals and switched to a lower paying job simply because they didn't want to get the vaccine. So that is a big player in it, is simply revolting against the vaccine. And another very large factor that I think plays into it is a lot of people are just simply taking vacations, traveling. Because here's the thing, for like 2 years, in the recent vaccinations, a lot more people are feeling comfortable going out. This is kind of on the opposite side. The people who are vaccinated are like, there is certainly no shortage of work. Wages are rising. The longer I hold it out, maybe the more I'll make when I do go back. So I'm gonna stay on this unemployment, get a job that's higher paying than when I left anyway, whenever I want, because like I said, there's no shortage of jobs, that's for sure. And I'm gonna go visit family that I haven't been able to see in years. I'm gonna go visit friends. I'm gonna make up for lost time on vacations. Being cooped up for that long and finally getting the vaccine that a lot of people were praying for and a lot of people weren't praying for and still revolt like we just talked about. Those people simply are just like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go visit my granddaddy and grandpa in their log cabin up in Colorado. I'll come back and get a job whenever I need to. I've still got some income coming in from the $300 a month benefits, at least in my state, Missouri, and I'll just go back to a higher paying position than when I left. No big deal. Because essentially, you can work pretty much wherever you want these days. And odds are, of you making more money than when you left is pretty high. So that is the statements that I have taken from top economists, and that is my opinion and kind of what I thought about them. And those are the reasons I personally think, based off what they said, those are the ones that I've compiled for you guys today, why people are not going back to work. It's very fascinating that unemployment has a very little to do with it. And it's just fascinating to watch this thing all unravel. So if you would like to stay in the loop on anything finance related, hit that like and subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below any further theories you have as to why people aren't going back to work. I find it very strange that there are no set answers, but I think this is the closest we are going to get. Now, the whole furlough thing doesn't really make any sense, because if you're sitting on your butt making maybe half of what you did at your job at $300 a week, you'd think you'd want to give your employer a ring and be like, yo, when am I coming back? So I don't know. That came from the chief economist at Indeed, but he probably knows more than I do. Anyway, guys, I will see you in the next update. Subscribe for more. Check out letsmakewifimoney.com. I've got programs linked down below. Greatly appreciate it, and I will see you in the next update. Got his 9, I've got my 9.
Boss Squad out.